Hi, everybody, and welcome. I am Scott, and today we are going to talk about the McBoaty Node set, which is an Upscaler Refiner. To do so, we will use that workflow in which you can find four boxes. One is on the left side for the configuration, the two middle one are for the upscaling and refining process, and the last one is a second pass for the refining. If you like what you see today, please subscribe and click the like button. Let's get started.
Summer breeze, summer vibe, summer is here.
In that workflow, I put some shortcuts or bookmark. You can access the overall workflow by clicking on the zero, as you can see on the screen. You can access the configuration box by clicking one, or you can access the refining first pass on clicking two. You can access the upscaling process on clicking three, and you can access the second pass on clicking four. For now, we're going to focus a little bit on the configuration. But before that, I want to clarify that this workflow is a bit of an advanced workflow. So if you have zero knowledge about how works the ComfyUI, the case sampling, and the rest of it, this workflow may be a bit hard to follow. Please follow the other videos first and then come back to that one. If you want to use that workflow while watching this video, you can find back the link below the video. In the configuration box, you will find the Anybus, which will the green node, which will gather all the information we need to spread over the workflow. You can find that here, there, and there. As we are working on an upscale process, we need an input image, which will go through the load image. I use some nodes that might be useless to you, which are made to adjust the color and resize the image to 1024 by 1024. We have the load checkpoint. In this workflow, we'll be using Dreamshaper XL V21 Turbo DP SDE for the sake of performance generation, to make sure that the generation doesn't take too long during this video. You will find the two prompts, the positive and the negative, and you will find some more information like the links to the Dreamshaper model and some others as well, so you can find it easily. As well, in the configuration box, I put the clip text encode SDXL because we are using an SDXL model. And that's about it. From that point, we can go to the rest of the workflow. We will start by the below box, which is the upscale process. And then we'll go for the upscale and refining process, which is on top of it. Before going forward, let's generate the images. Here we go. The images have been generated and upscaled. Let's have a quick look at it. And we have the generation and the comparison with the original image. Same here for the second box and the refining. Okay, looks good. Let's have a look to the upscale process. If you are used to this kind of workflows, I invite you to look at the chapter below the video to go straight forward to the one called Large Refiner.
Summer breeze.
As you can see, all the three boxes on the right in the middle are structured the same way. You will find the node that executes the generation of the images, and you will find four other boxes. The first one on the left is the rendered image, the final image. On the right, you will have a comparer image, which will compare the input image with the generated image. Below, you will find two smaller boxes, one for the tiles, which have been generated, and one for the prompt that have been used for each tiles. Now, let's dig in the large refiner box.
Summer breeze.
Now, let's see how works the larger refiner. Before going in details in the inputs and outputs and what you can do with it, we need to understand how it works internally. We use an input image, which is 10 by 24, or any size for that matter. But for the example, we'll go with 10 24 by 1024. We're going to upscale it according to the upscale model we're going to use. In our case, we use times 2 upscale model. So that will provide a 2048 by 2048 output image. This image will be sliced in different tiles depending on the tile size that we're going to specify. Still, in this case, 1024 by 1024, that's going to give us 4 tiles. And each tile will be processed through a case sampler. And once all the tiles have been processed, it will be all the tiles will be merged together to rebuild the final output. For the case sampler, we're going to apply a control net or not. We're going to apply a specific prompt or not, and specific denoise and specific case sampling values to each tile. So when you do that, when you're doing that, if the denoise level is too high, like if you put one denoise for all the tiles, the image will go crazy and will completely change the look of the image because each tile will be considered as one image. So it's important to keep in mind that the denoise level is gonna have an impact on the end result, and that's why we have the control net in place to make sure that we maintain a logic output from the input to the output, and leave you the ability to change that denoise level. Right now, you can see an output of the input, which on which we have applied 0.76 denoise with a control net. You can see that it roughly gave the same output as the input. When I roll over on the left side, you can see the input image, and when I roll out the mouse over the image, you will see the output. In this output, we maintain the text at the bottom left. Not necessarily exactly the same, but we are still at 0.7276 denoise. But we do have text. That's because we use the control net. If you remove the control net, you won't have the text. I will show you. This is a 0.76 without control net. I'm going to explain everything in a moment, but we're going to trigger a generation, and meanwhile, I will be explaining the input and output. So right now you have 0.76, so that's the same idea. With control net, this is 0.76 without control net, and this is the input image. So now I'm going to trigger a 0.15 denoise with the control net to see what do we get when we try to stay as close as the input. And meanwhile, I will be explaining the inputs. So I'm going to start by the input, and then I will go through the fields. On the left side, you have regular inputs like the input image, the model, clip, VAE, positive and negative conditioning. On the right side, you will have McBoaty pipe and McPrompty pipe, which will be explained later. You have the output image, the original image, the tiles images, and the prompts used for each tiles. That's we see here. That's very basic stuff. As well in the fields, everything is kind of quite basic. You will find the seeds as in the case sampler, the upscale model that you have in your folder, upscale model folder. You can define the output upscale method, the tile size, which will split, which will be the size of the tiles when we split the output image, when we split the upscale image. We use a feather mask to ease the rebuilding of the final image. For each tile that will be processed, you have to define if you want to be encode or tiled or not tiled, and as well the size of the tile for the VAE. We use a color match method because sometimes the input and output image will not have the same color matched. So you can force that by using this method, or you can remove it. The tile prompting is a feature which was in testing mode and still is in testing mode. So I won't advise to use it. It's supposed to use the vision model to analyze each tile and to use the LLM model to generate the prompt that will be used to refine each type. But that doesn't really work, so I don't advise to use it for now. It will be improved in the future. Here you have the output size type, where you can decide if you want the upscale size, so in our case 2040 by 2048, or if you want to use a custom size, which can be same size as the input using the value 1. This output size value is a multiplier. So if you use 1.5, you get 1536 by 1536 image on the output. So in my case, I will be using the upscale size. You need to define the sigma type of your model. In our case, it is a turbo model, so we use the SD turbo scheduler, which you have other options. You need to define the model type, SDXL for us. You can choose your sampler and scheduler, the number of steps, CFG, the denoise level. If you want to use or not the CANI control net, at which low and high threshold, and what's the strength you want to apply it, and when do you start and when do you end the application of that control net. And that's it in terms of parameters. So let's see what we get now from a 0.15 with control net. That's the output image, and that's the input image. That's pretty cool. Let's go closer. On the left side, you have the original image, and on the right side, you have the output image. Let's see how it goes in details. That's pretty neat. We're still in the blurry area. The building looks like what it was initially. The texture is a bit better, a bit more detailed, less blurry too. What about this guy? The hat of this guy is a bit better too. He got a strange face, but that's not the topic of it. The bag is nice. And the text. Street. The text start to be messed up, so maybe we need to trigger either a bigger control net or lower denoise. Now we've done the 0.55 denoise. I want to see what happens if I use one denoise with the control net. That can be fun. Let's see how it goes. Doesn't look good. Or maybe it looks good. Here we go. Here's the result. So what do we have? So thanks to the control net, we kind of have a similar image to what we inputted, but it go crazy. The text is no more recognizable. Nice. The tower is a weird tower. The doors goes crazy. The people are okay. Like kinda. So that's not a super result. That's not an issue because we know that we can lower it to get a better result. And that's it for the large refiner. If you want only up to upscale your image at low denoise level to be as close as the input, you can stop here because the next part is how you can fine-tune each tile to get a better result on a per tile approach. There we go. Let's go for the box number 2.
Summer breeze.
Now let's have a look to the upscale and refiner node with the tile pointer modifier. These three nodes do the exact same work as the large refiner. You will find exactly the same input, exactly the same output, and the same fields. There's no difference in the configuration. The main difference is that we open the process and let you access the tiles that have been generated and give you the ability to modify the prompt and the denoise level on a per tile basis. So in this case, sorry, we have, what do we have? We have decided to define a point 35 denoise level with a control net canny. And we go for a custom size at 1 multiplication by 1. But here, I want to change that. I don't want the pointer 35 for all the tiles. So I'm going to watch my tiles. I can do that by clicking right on each image and open it in a new tab. So this is the top left image. And the one I want to change are the bottom ones. So when you select the images, it's go from top left to bottom right by rows. So in this case, I will be opening the two last tile. Here we go, where I got the people. And actually, I want to change that people to become monkeys. Why not? And I'm going to make sure that they become monkeys by modifying the denoise level to 0.76 for these two tiles. So the modification of each tiles can be done on a per tile basis like I just did, or you can make it global. So if I click here, sorry, that's the prompt. I need to do something first. Tuck, tuck, tuck. There we go. So here I modified the prompt, which was not planned. So what I'm going to do is reset the value of each prompt by clicking the button reset at the bottom. Here we go. It gave me back the original prompt, not the one I've modified, but the one provided by the upscaler. So my monkeys. As you can see on the left side, the denoise is gone. So I'm going to apply a denoise for all the tiles at 0.45 by clicking on denoise on the denoise field, and this will change everything. But now I want to put the tile 2, 3, and 4 at 0.76. And in this case, we don't have lots of tiles, but let's imagine you have 64 tiles. It might be a little bit difficult to do all of them by hand. So what you can do is you can filter the indexes, in this case 3 and 4, separated by the comma. And then I can change the denoise to 76. And then I remove the filter, and I got my monkeys on the two last with 0.76 denoise, and the rest is as usual. I could actually done the prompt as well in the same way, so I'm going to reset it again. And this time I'm going to do a prompt. So I'm going to copy the prompt here, and I'm going to do people walking down a stone walkway, a rainy stone walkway at 0.35. And I'm going to change 3 and 4 to monkeys walking down a sunny stone walkway at 0.76. So this is how you use the tile prompter to modify the different information related to each tiles. Then when you click Q, that information will go to the refiner, which will process each tiles based on this information. As you can see here, we use a specific denoise for each tiles. We could remove the information, and it will. Sorry, this is a bit. Yeah, this is too small to see, but it will use the global denoise. And what we call the global denoise is actually the value which is here, 0.35. So in this case, for the tile 1 and 2, I can use the global denoise because it's the same value. If we use something else, it will override the global denoise value. So, um, last thing is that the requeue field is a technical field. You don't need to use it. You don't need to modify it. It allows us to force the ComfyUI to reprocess the tile prompter when required. So basically, each time you change something, it will increase the number in the requeue. So the ComfyUI knows that it needs to do something with the tile prompter. So everything is set up. Let's modify the threshold here and click Q. And let's have a look to what's going on. Took. So here we are at 0.35 with a rainish stone walkway, but because the denoise is 0.45, it won't change that much the image. In the opposite, we have the 0.75 that has applied with a level of 0.40 the Kenish with a prompt based on monkeys, and you can see that some monkeys are coming up. We might need to increase that to have more monkeys, maybe. Let's see how it goes. Here we go. Here are the results. So let's compare it with the original one. On top, we have a similar display. No rain, though. But that's because of the denoise level. And the detail on the wall are pretty nice. Yeah. Uh, yeah, that's better. Here we go. And we got our monkeys. Oh, sorry. Here we go. Where are my monkeys? They're here. Here we go. The monkeys are back. They are walking the street. We have a mummy there. Anyway, so last thing we haven't talked about is the McBoaty pipe and the McPrompty pipe. The McBoaty pipe and McPrompty pipe, you will find this output on the Upscaler, the Refiner, and the Light Refiner, because from them you can continue the process of manipulating each tile and modifying each tile. So in our case, we have a modified image with monkeys, but maybe we don't like that. Or in another case, we will have the large refiner, which does his work, and something goes wrong with the picture. Maybe the tower is not exactly as we like, but we only need to modify one tile, not the entire thing. And that's where we're going to use the second pass. We're going to see in a minute. The McBoaty pipe will pass all the information required to process the refining. And the McPrompty pipe will only pass the information required to manipulate the tiles prompt and denoise level. That's it for this pass. Let's have a look to the second pass.
Summer breeze.
Now we've seen the large refiner and the upscale and refiner pass. We'll see how to process with the second pass. But first, I want to get back a second on the output of both passes. As you may understand now, this kind of a node, the large refiner, or this kind of nodes, the upscaler tile prompter plus refiner, will output the same if you put exactly the same settings. So that's why in this workflow, you can see that both outputs are joined back to the second pass because I could completely use one or the other information to go through the next step. In this case, I'm going to use the top image, the top box as an input. You'll see that we have the input image, we have the McBoaty pipe, and we have the McPrompty pipe. As I'm using the output of a third stage and first pass of an upscale model, an upscale workflow, I can use a second pass with one tile prompter and a refiner. The upscale has been done on the first pass, and we're going to use exactly the same upscale. So in case your output is a custom size at 1, so you have the same size as the input, and you use upscale times 2, then when you arrive on the second pass here, you can use the upscale size, which will provide the initial input size, 1024 by 1024, upscaled it to 2 times, and outputted 2048. But if you use instead, what is it? The upscale size, that means that this output is 2048 by 2048. Then when you arrive here, the file is already 2048 by 2048, and it will be upscaled a second time by the same model, so times 2, and will output a 496 by 496 image. So when you do the upscale in the multiple pass, if you know that you want multiple pass but you want a specific size at the end, maybe take care of that. Take that in mind, sorry. Or otherwise, the other option is as well to select. Sorry, to select the custom size value and adjust the value depending on what you want. There we go. So let's say it. So now for the example, in the previous image, we had monkeys at the bottom of the image, and we don't want that anymore. Or we want to modify that aspect. So what I'm going to do is to get back my prompt here and change it to people. I'm going to use a 0.76 noise level. Here I'm going to use 0.35, 0.35. And I'm going to remove the rainy because it's useless. Actually, it could be an empty prompt, it would be the same because of the denoise level. And I'm going to remove the sunny because it's kind of useless as well. But we could keep it. And in this case, I want to process only. So I'm going to process everything first. So to process everything, I can either type all the numbers or I can just remove the value. And if the time to process is empty, then it will handle all the images. So let's go for that. And voila. Our previous image was containing monkeys, and now we are back to regular people. So now if I want only part of the image to be processed, to make back some monkeys, maybe on the left side, bottom left side, then I can do this, and it will, sorry, number 3. And it will process only the third tile. Et voila. Original image is that one. We have monkeys on the right side, but here we get back what we had in the previous stage. So actually, this is not a big change. So we could maybe instead of monkeys, cats, maybe big cats, big cats, big cats. Let's try that and see where it goes. That's a big weird cat, but you get the idea. Voila. Here again, we got the original image, so the image from stage one or the first pass, which is the same image at the input with monkeys on the bottom tiles. And here we get back the humans and we put a big weird cat on the top left, bottom left tile. And that's how you can process step by step your visual and change the tiles, the tiles contents, adjusting the denoise, adjusting the prompt, and modifying one tile only or all the tiles at once. To sum it up, I will say that the large refiner is what you're looking for if you want to do an upscale one-to-one, where you keep all the details of the input and you just want a bigger size. And if you want to adjust things and start to play with the render and have different output and kind of doing a bit of in-painting too, then you can start to play with the upscaler and the refiner. What I will do is start with a large refiner, maybe put some. No, actually, no, no. I will start with this and start to modify the prompts directly here, and then you use a second pass to modify whatever needs to be updated or changed. Or yeah. So that's it for me. This was the McBoaty presentation. This is version 5. You can expect upcoming changes. I hope this video will help you work with it and help you in creating upscale image. If I will be very glad to have some comments, what you think, how you use it, uh, be my guest, and I talk to you soon. Bye bye.